Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And as everyone knows, I've loved the Osmonds for many years. They're pros, they're consistently popular, and they always knock it to the back of the net whenever they perform. The Osmonds are back this December with a brand new show for Christmas, brought to you care of Andy Williams. We'll talk about that in a moment. First, though, Jimmy, how you doing?
How are you, my friend? Great to hear your voice.
Do you know, I love you so much. I love your work ethic. I love what you do on stage. I last saw you in Nottingham, and you just nailed it. It's so inspiring to see you. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. You've been a good friend for a long time. I know not just of mine, but of Donnie and other family members. So thanks for sticking with us for all these years. You look at some of the people that have stuck with us all these years that I call them friends, because when they come to your shows, you know, you really remember their faces, and now they're bringing their families, and it's just such a cool time of life to have had that much history, you know, backstory with people like you.
Yeah. I wonder what it's like for you when you go on YouTube and you see those videos when you're 3, 4, 5 years old. Is it like looking at your grandson?
It's weird. You know, I don't know if I remember those memories or not, but, you know, I went on YouTube and I saw an interview you did with me when I was in Greece, all those years ago, and then, you know, you did one with Donnie and stuff, but it's fun. It's fun to bring back the memories. They do flood back, and, you know, I feel like my life is kind of a blur, but I'm grateful it's so documented, because, you know, you do remember certain feelings and people that you've met.
Yeah. Well, I always remember somebody said to me, nobody will ever remember what they say to you or you say to them, but that you'll remember how they made you feel, and it's so true.
It really is, you know, that's what it's all about anyway. I mean, after all the stuff is over with, we're going to just be left with those lasting relationships and how we treated each other. You know, I think that's the key. Exactly.
I was very lucky a few years ago to do the last interview with Andy Williams, and it was one of the greatest hours of my life because...
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, in the UK, it was the last interview he did, and I just loved it because the stories he told about you and the stories he told about your brothers and, of course, Marie were so lovely. We'll play a bit of that in a moment.
You've got to send me a copy of that. Do you still have the interview?
Of course I do, yeah. I treasure it. He was such...
You know, I had a radio show in America once.
Yeah.
And, of course, you reach out to your friends, and I reached out to Andy, and I was actually scared. I mean, here's a guy that I've known my whole life. I mean, I started performing when I was 3 on his show, you know, and he was my neighbor.
Yeah.
And then I was in this role of interviewing him like you do, and it was just kind of intimidating.
Yeah, it is. It's always humbling when you meet somebody like that. And I always look in their eyes thinking of the people they've met and then ask myself why they're wasting their time talking to me.
Yeah, but he had a great way of validating people and
he did.
Making them feel like the star. I mean, he did that with everyone on his shows. I've been going through some of his archival footage, you know, because I'm doing a tribute show to him at my theater, which is his old theater.
Yeah.
And I've been going through that, and it's really interesting, his body language and everything. He always made the person feel like a star, more so than, and it was his show.
I know.
And I think that takes a real talent, you know.
And again, you can't buy the level of class that he had. That show was so respectable, as was he.
Yeah, no, he always dressed to the nines, you know. Being his neighbor, it was funny. He would go for his walk with his dogs, you know.
Yes.
And you'd think the guy just got out of a Gucci store, you know what I mean? I mean, he was just consummate class, you know.
Yeah. There'll never be another one like him. And I wonder whether you can remember the beginning of that show, the first time you appeared, or were you too young?
Well, like I say, I don't remember if it was just a memory of having watched it all these years.
Yeah.
Because it was so well documented. But I do remember impressions and little things, you know, when you're a kid. I remember going on stage on Andy Williams, and my dad would always lick his hands and try to fix my bangs. And I was more upset about that than the pressure of live TV, you know.
I can't imagine what your life has been like. I've told you this before. It must be a dream in one way and almost unreal in another. You were living such an extraordinary life. Did you know for a start that you were a star growing up, or were you just one of the brothers?
No, I never felt like I was anything special other than I felt like my family was special, and they made me feel of value to them as one kind of piece of the puzzle. And what was kind of neat for me, you know, growing up, when you're so enmeshed as a group, which usually explodes, boy bands usually all hate each other at the end of the success. Yeah. But in our case, it was amazing that we got along as well as we did, and it was more about the fact that I had my own success at such a young age. I was the first one to record, and just as a novelty, kind of almost a joke. And when it had success, it was kind of the best medicine for me, because I felt like I came by the success with adding to it a little bit. Even though my brothers paved the way, I felt like I carried a little bit of the weight along the way as well, which is kind of important, I think, for everybody to feel of value,
Absolutely. And I wonder about the pressure. Were there ever moments where it became too much as a child and you just wish you could be anonymous?
Oh, sure. But I think even children that are just going to school that are hoping that they get asked out at the prom, that is the same thing. I don't think anybody leaves this life without a fair share of pressure, of sadness, happiness. I think giving us all a fair shake at the end of this life,
Indeed. You're coming back to the UK in December with the Andy Williams Christmas Spectacular, starring the Osmonds and with special guest Jimmy Cricket, who is another one of my favourite people. He's another old pro that can just do it.
And he's such an iconic family jokester, it's fun. But, Andy's show, Andy well and his legacy, and you've seen his shows. So many people have done that over here, and I think they're just begging to see something that can take them back to those easier days and remember where they were when they watched him with Cookie Bear or singing one of those amazing love songs that he used to do.
That's right. I don't think there'll ever be another generation of that type of legend, nor another show that's so innocent. I think that was what was great about it. There was no double entendre. There was no two levels to it. And there's so much smut around now, isn't there?
Well, it's a different world. And, people always ask me, do you want your kids to get into showbiz? And I would say, I'll support them with whatever they want to do. And heaven knows they're talented enough. But it's just a different world. And going it alone, with the moral standards and what's expected of people and the shock behavior to be a star, if that's what you're after, is just too much pressure. And I'm so grateful that I always was kind of cheeky about it and never took myself serious. And otherwise, we could really be messed up. And I've had friends that have been quite successful that I wouldn't trade their lives for anything,
When I last spoke to Donnie in Las Vegas just in May, I was talking to him about Michael Jackson, who, of course, the family knew so well. And again, it could have gone that way, couldn't it?
Yeah, but he was great. And, they get flagged off a lot as a family, but the truth is they're a wonderful family. And they're very tender, kind-hearted people. But I think where it goes wrong is all the people that you allow around you as your so-called handlers, When people have other agendas, when you have a brother or a sister that cares about you, that's going to tell you the truth, that's the kind of support you need. And the Jacksons had that.
I think also that business is terrible for insecurity. It sort of breeds it. When you're in a family, I guess there's not that issue because ultimately family comes first, and even if the band disappears, the love won't.
Well, we've had that, though, too. I mean, there's been members of our family that have thought they're all that and didn't need the rest and kind of moved on. But we've all been able to go through those things together and allow each other those freedoms. And everyone's come back to the fact that, our career at least was a team effort. And we've all had our day in the spotlight, and it's nice to celebrate each other's success. And that only comes from time and experience. But we've had those moments. Everyone does in show business,
For you, what are the pinch me moments? What were the moments where you stood on a stage or next to someone and thought, my goodness, I have made it?
Oh, I never thought I've made it. I still don't think that way, but I thought...
Is that true?
Special times. Yeah, I still don't think that. I think I'm more of a we mentality, and I think one of the big moments for me was I was always kind of the cleanup guy that had to go and put the deals together, and even though I'm the youngest, I've ended up kind of either business managing or helping, all my siblings. But I think the culmination of the big moment for me was putting together that 50th anniversary special that I produced, and then eventually the tour that Donnie and I did together. And I thought that was quite fun because all of the originals were on stage one last time, and it was just it was about everyone's moment together, rather than trying to make about making money or anything like that. It was just we were all there for the right reasons, and it was just really rewarding for me.
I guess your group is more of a community than a family these days. I mean, there's so many of you. Is it even possible for everybody to get together?
Well, we had Donnie just had he was in charge of the family reunion this year. I was last year, and there was a couple hundred of us there, but it was there was a lot of hot dogs and shaved ice. But anyway, it was quite fun. I got tiger's blood, which was quite yummy. But the conversation is never about show business. It's always about real stuff. And simple stuff. It's stuff that we learned from our dad, or hey, I'm fixing this tractor, or just weird stuff that you'd never think entertainers would talk about.
Well, I guess you've got a reality to your lives that we don't see. We see the glamour and we see the showbiz and we see the talent. You see the reality, and of course that's the difference.
Yeah, well, I think everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, and I think it's quite fun to just get real and to own it and just say, hey, come on.
After
trying to figure this out too,
After the tragedy of 9/11, I interviewed the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, and we were talking about this, and she said, ultimately, we all have to wipe our bottoms at the end of the day. And I thought, you make a very good point.
That's a good way to put it.
You make a very, very good point. We look at your life now, and as I say, I've seen you in everything from pantomime to Grease to your own rock concerts, which are just so much fun. What do you enjoy doing the most? Are the pantos fun? I know they're hard work.
Well, it's not hard work for me. I mean, I grew up doing 2 shows a day in Vegas,
right. Yes.
So it's just what we did. I actually love it. And again, pantomimes or plays, it's all, you're still feeling like a team, like I grew up doing, just adding your piece in there. And I like it all. I also love owning Andy's Theater, and I put 500 shows through there last year, and there'll be about 500 and something this year that I promote that I'm not necessarily in, but I promote other artists. And I get quite an excitement out of that when you see the tickets sales, from your efforts in marketing and all that's involved. I've always been a big fan of knowing what everyone's job is and having tried it,
Here's something that's always dawned on me about you, Jimmy. Are you a better businessman than a showman? Because it seems to me it's almost a 50-50. You are as shrewd as a businessman as you are a great performer.
Well, thank you. I don't know. I hope I'm a good performer. I know when I go on stage, something weird happens. And I hope this doesn't sound bizarre to you, but I'm not really me.
Right.
You turn into this total other person that is confident, that can look at people in the eyes, that can, love their craft. But then you get off stage, and I morph into this other guy that's a little bit, not insecure is the wrong word, but a little bit shyer, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I found that with a lot of people. Like when I worked with Michael Jackson, when I promoted his tours, he was the same way. A lot of us that grew up that way, even my brother Donnie, he's quite shy.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the fact that you're constantly being judged. I always say to people, you can't imagine what it feels like to stand on a stage in front of thousands of people. All have got their own opinion. Some will like you, some won't. That's going to leave you somewhat anxious because all you want to be is loved and liked.
You just have got to be your own best friend and just lie to yourself that you're even going to be doing an arena show. And when you walk out there and there's 30,000 people, you just have to almost pretend that's not happening because it's so overwhelming. Pressure.
And of course, Jimmy, if you don't mind me saying, I'm very surprised that you've even gone into singing because you're such a great dancer. I mean, this has become a big part of the show now. The ladies love to see you jiggle, don't they?
I jiggle, that's for sure.
No, that was the wrong word. I didn't mean jiggle. I meant ballet. Ballet, yes, maybe a ballet.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm a bit funny that way. Yeah, like I told you, I turned into a different guy. But, we've had to do everything from... I was a vaudevillian, we grew up tap dancing, and we grew up doing all kinds of bizarre things and playing every kind of instrument. And so, you know, you kind of, when you're in an awkward moment, what else are you going to do but do a ballet dance, you know, and laugh at it, you know. Where I produced an ice show, and I put spikes in our feet,
Right.
and we had these skaters, pair skaters, do this swing her around where
Yes.
her head almost hit.
Right.
Well, she hit, and they're on the stage and just totally wiped out. And I didn't know what to do. The audience is just mortified. So the band, you know, they started playing some music, and so I went into this ballet dance just to be funny. And it kind of brought the house down in a funny way. And we made, you know, you made lemonade out of that situation. But you've got to just kind of throw yourself out there.
The show has got to go on, literally.
Yeah, you've got to do the most bizarre things sometimes just to keep people, you know, entertained and things moving, you know.
Do you still need...
That was an extreme situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you still need live performance and to do live shows to keep as the person you are? Or at this point, could you happily just be the businessman that you've so successfully become?
Well, I think live performance is what I'm passionate about.
Right.
Business is fun, but it's boring. And it's all, to me, it's all about interacting with people. And I could easily fade away and just be a dad, because that's what all I want to be, really. I love doing what I'm doing now. I'm doing a show at Andy's Theater, which is a tribute, which I promised the family I would do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm singing all the songs from Charade or whatever, you know. And it's just been almost healing to me to sing these songs, these melodies, Burt Bacharach, you know, all of those melodies that I grew up one of his background singers and touring with him. And it's really been fun to perform these songs. And I think that's what I'm most passionate about now. I have nothing really to prove.
No.
Other than every time I go out on stage, I care enough to deliver. And I'd love to keep doing that as long as people will let me.
And the voice, how is it at this stage? I mean, you've always had a powerful voice. You've always been able to deliver. And you're the kind of guy that can walk on a stage and without a piano just sing and people will listen. How comfortable is it still for you? How much do you enjoy singing?
I think it's getting better. And I think it's because, you know, I did some of those reality shows, you know, like that Pop Star to Opera Star and some of those things.
Yeah.
And I kind of learned some training that I'd never applied before. And I've actually improved, I feel. And, you know, you improve by doing.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell a lot of kids when they say, hey, how do you get confident on stage or whatever? And I say, you go on stage, you know. You just need more stage time to become a good entertainer. And in Branson, at my theater, you know, when you're doing 2 shows a day, you get a lot of stage time. And you get that confidence that you've got to have.
And what's great about that, and
you know what's really weird is if you stop. If I stop for like 60 days or whatever, I'm totally nervous. You have to keep that going.
Yeah.
You can't just turn it on and off.
What's great about that Andy Williams Theatre in Branson is that the audience who come there actually love entertainment and sit and listen. That is different to Vegas. It's an advantage to have that theatre. And I know it helps your acts because they're people who really love entertainment, aren't they?
Yeah, I think to be quite honest, I think it used to be that way, but now, you know, we have people from all over the country that come there, and so it's quite a similar crowd to playing Old Vegas, you know.
Right.
I mean, Old Vegas was that, you know, where people came just to, you know, enjoy music and whatever, and I think that is the crowd in Branson. But we still play Vegas. My brothers and I do like 3 times a year, and they're also good audiences. But for me, if I had to choose, my favorite audiences to perform for here in the UK, because you guys know how to give back and you know our music history and celebrate it. We have a lot of good fans in America and other places that do as well, but there just seems to be, you know, a lot more energy and excitement here for us to do these kinds of shows.
Yeah, it is remarkable. I do warm up for Loose Women sometimes, and when I see those crowds waiting outside, I mean, you're brave to walk out in front of them. They're into you, aren't they, Jimmy? They really love you.
Well, I pay them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, they're really amazing. I don't know how they do it. Some of them get up so early. And there's some of the same faces you see, whether you're in Tokyo or you're in Vegas. You know, they'll find you and follow you, and I don't know how they can do that, but it's amazing. We would be nowhere without, I call them our fire starters.
Yes.
Because I think I've told you this before. If you look out into an audience and you've got an excited friend or fan in all these strategic places in the audience, they're energetic, which makes everyone around them energetic, and everybody has a better time.
As you reflect now, just this week we lost Jackie Collins. As you say, Andy Williams has gone. We've got fewer and fewer legends left. The legacy that the Osmonds leave behind will be the music. Is it still staggering to you that we'll be playing those songs in many, many years to come? I've been on gold radio stations for years, and those songs are hits, and they keep being played time and time again. That's, I guess, your greatest triumph, isn't it?
I know. I think my greatest triumph is my family.
Right.
And I think, honestly, I'm so surprised that we're even remembered. But I think you also have to work at that. You have to continually be relevant today by modifying what you do and being willing to try different things. But I'm grateful that our history is lasted as long as it has. The rock press has never been kind to us, but we don't fit in any mold. If you really, to be fair, we're this Christian family that had sold 100 million records. I mean, they can't fault that, but our behavior, is we love each other and we don't have any crazy fiascos that have happened in our lives, knock on wood. But we just don't fit in pigeonholed in any mold. You know what I mean?
But you know what I love about that is if you're popular, if you're in pop music, that means one day you'll not be popular. If you're fashionable, one day you'll go out of fashion. By just being talented and being there, you've lasted the test of time, and nobody can take that away from you.
Well, it's taken a lot of work and a lot of courage from other people to trust you to be in things, and I'm just grateful for that, because you really can't go it on your own. I mean, you have to have people at record companies and television companies that give you a shot, and you really have to realize that it's not just about you, and you need to deliver based on the courage of others and the opportunities that have been handed to you. And that's what a lot of kids, I think, miss out today is, you see a lot of kids being rewarded as celebrities for just showing up, and they don't realize what it took to get them there.
When you see people like Justin Bieber or anybody else like him who go off the rails, have you ever reached out to those people? Because you, more than anyone, can empathize with the pressure and the stress and the strain and the just sheer exhilaration, I guess, of being a star, but also how vulnerable that makes you at a young age.
I think I'd have a lot in common with some of those people.
No,
I don't really have anything in common. That's the problem. I don't feel I'm an expert on anything, because the way I was raised, I had a support system. I haven't walked in Justin Bieber's shoes.
No, I get it, but you had the blessing of that. Maybe he doesn't, and I wonder whether that's his problem.
Well, I think it's anybody's problem, because if you don't know what you stand for, you fall for anything.
Right.
And the truth is, we had a faith, we had a code of living, we had a responsibility to each other. We grew up in the classy era of the 60s and 70s, early 70s, where people watched you, and you always felt like a million cameras were on you, and what you did mattered, and how you treated people mattered. In today's world, we reward bad behavior, and so these kids, they are having struggles. They're just playing out the rules of today, and it's sad that the media rewards that, because in our day, they rewarded hard work and sheer talent.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kids out there that have the talent, but they just don't know how to conduct themselves. And maybe that's what people want, but I don't want that. I don't want that for my kids.
No.
I want my kids to dress up when they go somewhere, not show up in shorts. I want my kids to have a little respect for elderly people. I want my kids to use proper language, and I want my kids to lift and empower other people that they come in contact with. And they can only learn that if you teach them.
Yeah. And there are some great people out there. I think it's just sad that, as you say, the media tends to focus on the worst and make them stars. That's what's sad about reality TV.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But the same, it's quite entertaining sometimes, the train wreck. But at the end of the day, if you really cared about some of these people that are at the center of attention, you wonder, well, who's around them that cares enough about them to tell them no?
Yeah.
Which is, I'm so grateful we made it out. Almost made it out alive here. Because I'm not dead yet.
Well, you've had a remarkable life and a sensational career that continues to go strength to strength.
It's not always on top, but you know what? I fly right under the radar, and there's a lot of peace in that.
Yeah.
To be involved in good projects with nice people, and be fulfilled that you're using the talents God gave you.
For me, you have nothing but respect. I think you're a true star. Jimmy Osmond and the rest of the Osmonds will be performing on this wonderful Christmas show in tribute to Andy Williams. It's coming to Malvern and Guildford, Worthing, Harrogate, Croydon, Watford, Margate, Eastbourne, London, Wolverhampton, Bradford, Burnley, Newcastle, Edinburgh and Chesterfield between the 8th and the 22nd of December. And then you'll be back home for Christmas, will you?
It is. It is the most wonderful time of year to quote a friend of ours, right?
Yeah, indeed.
So
yeah. And he is Mr. Christmas.
And see the show with us and have some fun. Come back and say hi to the bros. They're the cool ones.
I know. I can't wait. Yeah, say hello to the boys for me. And thank you so much for your time. You're one of my favourite people. Jimmy Osmond, good to talk to you.
Take care, my friend.